Well, we had finished up Weaver's Crossing, which was something totally new for us because it was a family drama, which James and I had never done before. So our idea was to kind of go back to what we were used to a little bit, mainly because we have a lot of fun shooting the action scenes and then the chase scary scenes in the film. So James and I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to do a 70s and 80s style slasher flick, something modern audiences would enjoy, but something that is less bloody and more shadowy, like one of those 70s and 80s slasher flicks like John Carpenter's Halloween. So that's really what inspired us, I think, first off to do A Whisper in the Dark, was to kind of get back to our roots a little bit more and to make something kind of modern, kind of traditional all at the same time.
All right, so the idea of A Whisper in the Dark kind of came about like this. We were still working on Weaver's Crossing. Ian calls me up one day and he says, "Hey, I kind of got this idea." He says, "I want to throw around to you. Maybe we can come up with a good plot line." He goes, "I've kind of been watching these old 80s style horror films," and he says, "I want to take that kind of same feel and style, but I want to make a modern version of it." So he called me on the phone. We start shooting back and forth ideas, and over a period of time and many conversations and phone calls, we kind of came up with the idea of Whisper in the Dark, what it was going to be about, the storyline and everything, and that's kind of how it became about.
When James and I went to assemble the cast for A Whisper in the Dark, our idea was to, much like in our film After Dark, was to bring in several people who we'd worked with before and then group them with some brand new talent who we haven't worked with. So we started off with the new talent, and our first casting choice was Jonathan Gorman to play the role of Detective Michael Rivers. And Jonathan had worked in Hollywood for a number of years before moving back to Indiana, and he was in Matlock, and he had a part in Murder, She Wrote, and he had done transportation and production work on The Usual Suspects with Kevin Spacey. So Jonathan had this really diverse background, and we thought, who better to bring the character of Michael Rivers to life than Jonathan, and he did an excellent job with the part.
I got a reach out from Ian, and he's, wanted to work with me, which, was great. I mean, he had seen some work that I did, and so we collaborated via the phone for a couple of years, and finally found the right timing, the right project, the right timing, and I was able to be a part of this, it was a great experience.
We also had the opportunity to work with Cassandra Schomer, who played Dr. Andrea Rivers, Detective Rivers' wife, who really opens the film with the first 15 or 20 minutes of the movie, and she really kickstarts the movie and gets it going. And Cassandra brought a great level of paranoia to the role when she hears the noises, and her scene in the bathroom at the motel, I think, is one of the best sequences in the movie, because you really feel that Cassandra is scared, and you buy it, because a lot of actors can't sell that they're genuinely scared, and Cassandra Schomer just blew that out of the water, I think.
I've played 5 or 6 new roles with Moonlight Films, and I love it, but it's kind of interesting because my first movie, I was obviously the villain from Bloodstone 2 as Quintana. The After Dark was next. I played more of a calmer character. She wasn't so hyper and out there and angry, but she also wasn't super depressed and having issues like in Whisper in the Dark. So that was easier, and she was also intelligent and was curator at a museum and stuff. So far I've played a wide arrangement of characters, and I love them all.
A Whisper in the Dark was basically a phone call and a Facebook message. That was the amount of it. Whisper in the Dark was Ian contacting me and saying, "Hey, we got this part, and we really think it'd be really cool if you'd play it, and it's right up your alley, and it's a neat character," and that was pretty much where it was. I like the characters that Ian throws at me. It's always something different.
Working with everybody on set was a blast. Ian and James kind of lets us have free reign of what we can say, what's going to be more comfortable for us. Me and Jonathan Gorman did that quite a bit. talked about how the scene would work and how we would work it out together to make it more realistic. Or with Chasey and Tara was fun. They're working with the masked killer. We'll just leave it at that. It's just a good time. It's a good time when we all get together. We laugh and joke more than we actually shoot the movie. But at the end of the day, it's a good time, and we feel like we put out some pretty good stuff.
You know what I liked about being offered the role of Michael is coming back into the industry for myself after some years off is nice. It's a great role. There's got a lot of levels to it. It's what we see today. So we're talking about a horror film. I've always been opposed to horror films for the most part. But, you know, so being able to play this, I don't feel that it carries that low-end quality of the character. There's a really true person here, somebody that I can actually see, I could be this guy, you know, and so I like that realism of the character of being Michael Rivers. So the dialogue, Ian does some really nice stuff with his dialogue, and he lets you get the opportunity to do, kind of throw in your own input of what you like to do, and that's important in this type of, you know, when you're in the craft. I like to feel natural. I like to be able to say how I would see it, so I enjoyed that part of it too.
My character, Rebecca Watson from The Whisper in the Dark, she's kind of going through a rough time. She's grieving because of a little boy she just lost that she was babysitting. But at the moment, she still has to keep babysitting a little girl, so she's always reminded that she just lost this kid, and the farmer, the dad, is not talking to her. He's not happy with her. There's a lot of issues going on with her getting into the swing of babysitting again. And so through the whole movie, she's breaking down, but at the same time, she can't let Sarah or anybody see what she's doing. So it's kind of complicated that way.
My character is Ted Granger. He's a farmer, simple guy, generally a good guy. But good people, faced with dreadful circumstances and in hopeless situations, sometimes do irrational things. And I think anybody sitting in the audience could be a Ted Granger. That's the beauty of his character, is the fact that he's believable enough that, you know, and that he embodies what is potential in all of us. We all have the potential for great evil, and it's just the fact that, you know, he takes great evil by the horns and resurrects this killer.
I'm Detective Nick Fisher of the Coldwater PD, investigating a homicide with Detective Rivers, played by Jonathan Gorman. Basically investigates murders. Bodies have been found with these symbols on their arm. And basically, Rivers' wife goes missing. I have to protect his daughter and her babysitter, and then by the end of the movie, Detective Rivers goes missing, and so I guess I gotta kind of pull all the shit together and do my own thing without any help because I don't have my partner anymore.
We also had the opportunity to bring back Tara Bixler, who is one of our favorite performers in any of our films. Tara is awesome to work with because she's just game for anything, and whether it's running through the woods or falling down a hill or being tied up to a chair or whatever you really have her character doing, Tara's totally okay with, and she's awesome to work with. She brings an emotional depth to the character that it needs, the character of Rebecca Watson, because of her past with this little boy that died and her connection to Ted Granger, the farmer. But at the same time, she can still bring it when she has to do the action sequences and run through the woods and run out in the street and trip and fall and have an axe coming toward her. You know, all done within the safety of, you know, what a film set can provide, but at the same time she's willing to do those scenes that a lot of younger actresses may not really want to do because they have to get their hands dirty a little bit more. So Tara's awesome in that regard.
I love doing all the stunts, all my own stunts, and my director Ian is too nice and freaks out the entire time, but that's kind of fun. Of course, we shoot something and then he panics and asks if we're okay, and then later he'll tell us that it looks good, we don't have to do it again. But I love the running through the woods, and me and the actor that played the killer, we had a few blunders doing our stunts, but I think we got it at the end.
The favorite part for me of filming today was, well, there's a lot actually, but I like the woods. The woods was really cool because it was just, you know, I'm what you're doing in reality and what you're going to actually see, and the actual end result, the film, is going to be fun. So I don't know what that looks like. So that's cool. Also the car. I think that, you know, hopefully you guys would get a chance to see behind the car scene what we're doing and when we're driving, and the lights that are coming at me, and you know that we're actually just in this dark warehouse and actually not on the road. That's really cool. It was a, you know, very ingenious way of filming. Very cool.
The environment on set is always one of just really fun, very lighthearted, keeping it fun for everybody that's involved, but at the same time being real serious about the craft and knowing that your job is to tell a story. James and Ian are always really real fast with a joke or a quip, and keeping, it's very respectful. A couple of guys, overly so sometimes. They seem to be really respectful and very appreciative of times and talents and things of that nature.
One of the best things I think about A Whisper in the Dark that you should take from this film is this was the first movie that we got to work with Ruby Moon-Houldson, which did an amazing job not only on camera but off camera. After she interviewed After Dark for us, we tried to stay in touch with her pretty well, and she gave a lot of insight into this movie, not only as acting but in the backstory. She helped us develop the ideas, told us what the positive and negative she thought. It was a great pleasure to be able to work with her on this film, and I only wish we could work with her on future films.
James and I had the pleasure of working with the late Ruby Moon-Houldson in the film, and she plays Dr. Vanessa Flesher, who is a radio psychiatrist who kind of helps the Rebecca Watson character through this turmoil that she's going through. And Ruby was excellent in this role for a lot of reasons. One was that she has her degree in counseling, and she counseled people in real life. So she did have this extensive background of knowing the right questions to ask, so I could kind of work that into the script. Also, Ruby was such a caring person in real life, and she would always go out of her way to help people. So having her play this part was very believable, because you bought it that she was genuinely concerned about Rebecca, even though she only knew her just over the phone. In those two scenes they share together in the movie, you really feel that from Ruby to Tara, that she genuinely has this care for her. And we were very lucky to have worked with her before her passing, and that will always be one of the most important things about this movie to James and I.